Hey class, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about symbolism in theater. Make sure to pay close attention because at the end of this video I am going to do a short pop quiz and you could win a prize. Throughout the duration of this video I will be covering what symbolism is, how it's used in theater, a little bit of the backstory and history of how symbolism came to be. I'll be covering some examples of how it's used. I'll be going over some different plays and films that symbolism is used in, and then also explaining the importance of symbolism. So let's dive in. So you may be wondering, what is symbolism? So symbolism is the use of symbols to represent different ideas or qualities of something, basically, that lies beneath the surface. It expresses a deeper meaning than what we see at face value. So now that we know the basic definition and idea of what symbolism is, how is it used in theater? There are many different ways that symbolism can be used in theater. It can be used through different colors, the characters, props, costumes, and even movement. Most of the time it is used to symbolize different emotions or values in society. Symbolism is a form of art, so it can be expressed in many different ways, but it's usually expressed through visual means. It tends to be anti-realistic and non-naturalistic. It allows playwriters to express certain messages or even like secrets to the audience, which sometimes can be hard through action or dialogue alone. So how did symbolism come to be? Symbolism came to life in the late 19th century, and it was discovered by a group of French poets. It peaked in theater between 1885 and 1910. In 1886, a man named Jean Moraes published what was called the Symbolist Manifesto, and it had great influence on the visual and performing arts world. Some very well-known symbolist playwriters during the time was Paul Claudel, Maurice Maeterlinck, Eugene O'Neill, and W.B. Yeats. One of the things I found fascinating was that many of the symbolist playwriters were heavily influenced by their subconscious mind or through their dreams. Now that we know what symbolism is and a little bit of its history, I want to dive in on some examples of how it's used. There are many ways that it is used in theater, but one of the big examples is through colors. The color red is symbolic to passion and anger and war and violence and danger. The color pink was used for love and romance and feminine and delicacy. The color yellow is symbolic to joy, wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. Blue is actually the most important color used in theater history, and it is symbolic to loyalty, harmony, faith, and trust. The last one I'm gonna talk about is violet, and that was used for royalty, power, enlightenment, and spirituality. Now, these are obviously just a few examples. There are way more colors that we could go into detail about with their symbolism, but I just wanted to touch base on these ones because I felt like they were really important. And I also wanted to mention that white represents purity and innocence. So a lot of times if you'd see a woman wearing like a white dress, that was a sign of purity. Some other really important examples of symbolism in theater is the use of props. One of the big examples would be roses, which roses symbolize love. And then another example would be skulls, because skulls symbolize death. The choice of symbols and how they are portrayed depends on what the playwriter is trying to convey to the audience. Even though symbolism is a very clever technique and it adds a lot of depth to the story that's being told, it can create a lot of confusion if it's not executed properly. And sometimes the symbols can have a very simple meaning. They don't always have to be super complex. During the 19th century, the most well-known symbols of the time were death, debauchery, and decadence. Obviously, we all know that symbolism has been around for a really long time, and we know it was discovered in the 19th century, but there was actually a lot of symbolism used in some of Shakespeare's plays. A couple of his well-known plays that used symbolism was Othello and Hamlet. One of the top symbolist plays in the 1800s was called Axel. A few other popular symbolist plays of the 19th century was The Blind, The Intruder, and The Bluebird. Even though symbolism started many, many years ago, it is still very, very well known today, and it is used in so many different films. I could probably spend hours listing films that have symbolism in the present day, but to name a few, The Lord of the Rings, American Beauty, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Shining, The Godfather, and Pan's Labyrinth. After going through all that, why is symbolism such an important concept? For one, symbolism has been used throughout history, and it's mainly to give the viewer and the audience more sensory experience. It does this by expressing more complex ideas and instilling more depth and more meaning behind the story. It also helps to add more imagery and to connect themes. And overall, it just creates more excitement in what the viewers and the audience is watching. There are just endless possibilities of symbolism in theater. It can be integrated into actions, characters, colors, words, and even objects. I just feel like symbolism gives so much more value and meaning to the overall production. It truly is a gift to have in the visual and performing arts world. I just feel like stories and plays and films really wouldn't be to the magnitude that they are today if it weren't for the symbolism behind them that lie beneath their surface. Here is a quick little clip of some symbolism that's in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's one of my favorite movies, and I felt like this was a really good example of how symbolism can be used.
Apply my personality in a paste.
As we sift through the memory fragments in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, one thing sticks out: the ever-changing hair of Clementine.
It changes a lot, the color. That's why you might not recognize me.
Clementine's hair is a character in itself. It's a barometer of the state of her relationship with Joel. And if you look closer, the shifts in its color offer a symbolic guide to the surreal journey inside Joel's head. Clem's hair even whispers to us some clues about the film's greater wisdom and life lessons.
I mean, the whole thing with the hair, it's all bullshit.
I really like your hair.
It's really pathetic.
I really like your hair.
Thank you.
Clementine's hair evolution is also there to add texture and depth to the story on the figurative and emotional levels. Most fundamentally, the hair color's progression signals to us the symbolic seasons of Joel's and Clementine's relationship.
I hope you guys liked that little added clip. I just found that really awesome that literally symbolism can just be in your hair color. And it's such a simple concept, but it has such a deep meaning. And it's crazy how many different forms of symbolism there is. And I just feel like I could make a 5-hour-long video on this topic, but that's all we have for today. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And don't forget that I'm doing a little short pop quiz after this video. So hopefully you learned a thing or two and will win a prize. Take care, you guys.